What's up YouTube, Redbeard's Garage, and sorry for the long pause in videos, but we're back in the garage. Finally, I've been doing a lot of side jobs, doing LEDs and bolts, light bars, all kinds of junk like that, and I'm actually this close to opening up my shop in town actually. So you'll be seeing a lot of videos over the next couple months on the progression of my shop. Once I find the exact building and everything, it'll all fall into place. So we got the go-kart right behind me. We haven't did much on it. What I've done so far is you've seen the video where I built the motor for it. There's a few things I still got left that I want to do to the motor, but it'll have to wait for now. I don't want to spend more money on a billet rod and a cam and a billet flywheel right now, so it'll have to do with what we stopped at. Now here's the engine fully dressed out. I end up header wrapping the exhaust with some header wrap I had laying around. It turned out pretty nice. I haven't even started this engine yet. It has the oil in it and everything. Once I put the oil in it, I forgot I was going to completely remove the governor from inside the engine, because you do have to do that. But so what I did to fix that problem for now is basically this is the handle that moves the governor back and forth. So if this spins around too much, it can actually hit the crank, and I'm sure you can mess up a lot of stuff in your engine. So what I've done is went through this hole here with some cable and tied it off to where the old oil sensor used to mount that turned the motor off when it didn't sense any oil. This will not move now. I have wired it. There's no way unless this wire breaks, and of course I'll keep a watch on it real close. I also made this engine stand. I do not have a gas welder. I am actually going to convert it to gas very soon. I'll make a video on that. So the welds are the best I can do with the welder I have. They're perfectly fine for this application. I do need to paint this still, but basically you can see the height that raised that engine plate up, because on this go-kart right here, this is a really wide engine plate. Most engine plates only come out about a ½ inch on each side of these sliding rails. Well, the problem with that was the torque converter right here where it hangs down was actually hitting the side of that. So what I did was took this engine plate and welded these pieces of angle to it, drilled the holes, so basically the motor will be bolted to that engine plate, and then I'll put bolts in those holes to slide the motor back and forth to tension the chain up and tighten it down. So basically all I got to do now is throw the motor on there and then slide that sprocket where it needs to be, put the key in it, and then tighten it down. As you can see, I made a disc brake mount and mounted up that disc brake on it. It had dual drum brakes in the center of that axle before, so probably won't be any better of a braking system, but I just really like disc brakes. I feel like they're going to handle the application a lot better. I do need to get a longer brake cable. The one will not reach to where I need it to. It's only short by about 5 or 6 inches, so I need to pull it off and measure it out and order one that'll work better. But yeah, this go-kart's coming along slowly, and put these chrome shocks on here for now. They're going to have to work because one of the factory ones was missing one of the coil springs off of it, and I had these chrome ones laying around, so we're going to use those for now, and then later I'm going to buy the ones with the gas reservoir, the extra reservoir, kind of like Fox shocks for razors and whatnot. You can get knockoffs on eBay for around 60 bucks, and I think 40 for the front. So we're going to redo all the shocks eventually and paint the wheels up. Right now it's just get it running, then we'll break it down, paint it, and do everything we want to, like put a nice steering wheel on it, put LED light bars, and I'm going to see about making an electric start, work on this motor if this motor is powerful enough. Now this should be around 10 to 11 horse. It'll be up to 12 once I fully build it, but I don't know if I'm going to take this motor this far. I may end up getting, for $330 you can get an 18 horse. Now the 18 horse has an electric start on it, and 320 bucks on eBay shipped. It has really good reviews. The engine, you know, it's a Honda clone just like the Predator is. Predator's just a more well-known name. They're no better than the other Honda clones. But I think the 18 horse would probably be perfect. I really won't want to put something with the transmission eventually on this thing, but we'll see. I don't know. She'll probably be completely fine with this motor, let alone an 18 horse. We just have to see how that all works. So what I'm going to do is tighten the bolts up that bolt this motor to the engine plate, and then we'll get it put on the go-kart, get the sprocket aligned and get it tightened down, and get everything where it needs to be, and then we can start finishing this thing up so she can finally ride it. Started to install this engine on this go-kart, and I remembered one of my hose was just a little bit off. As you can see, the lines that I've drawn on there is the actual runners for the engine. So what I'm going to do is take a carbide bit. I'm going to take a carbide bit kind of like this right here, and I'm going to round out the hole a little bit, grind it. These things work awesome in a Dremel. They'll eat up steel really well. Now if you do aluminum with them, they don't like aluminum too much because it clogs up the little blades. So what I always do is have a piece of steel, like a scrap piece, laying right beside me when I'm doing aluminum, and every few minutes lube it, number one, with some type of lube. If all you have is WD-40, it'll work, but spray lube on the bit constantly, you know, pretty much every few seconds, and then if the bit starts getting clogged, you can hit it on the steel and it'll sling all that aluminum out. Make sure to wear safety glasses because this thing throws some metal out. So I'm probably going to pick this one right here, and going to round that hole out a little bit more, and I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, we got that hole bored out and got the motor just pretty much just hand tightened on there so we can move the engine back and forth. We do have one problem though. Now I've taken this axle off this go-kart just a couple of times, and it's not fun because, as you can see, you have a lock collar and a bearing on each side. There's one there and one on the opposite side, and then as well under there. So that's 3 lock collars you got to loosen up. Then you got to take out basically 6 bolts along the whole axle, and then you can drop the axle. Well, the only problem with this is it's a pain to get everything lined up, especially with that motor cage on the go-kart. Now I can pull it off, but it's going to suck to pull it off because I pulled it off 100 times before, it feels like anyways. So I'm going to have to unbolt the shocks, and then if you can see down in there, there's a bolt holding the motor rack onto the front of the frame of the go-kart. Now the problem is this sprocket, I overlooked it and thought it had some set keys in it, like an Allen wrench where you can set it on the axle and it won't go back and forth. Well, it does not. So basically that means that axle, I need some lock collars. Now if you don't know what a lock collar is, that is that thing right there with that Allen head in it that pushes against that bearing and keeps the axle from sliding back and forth. Now I'm going to have to put one on each side of that sprocket, and I have none that I know of. I'm going to look through my hoard over here of go-kart stuff to see if I have anything like that laying around, but I'm pretty sure I do not. So that means another trip to town to get those and then pull this axle completely off. It's not, I mean, ridiculously hard, but it just sucks that I have to do it. Now another problem that I found out is the black cable right there is the throttle, and the silver one is the choke. Well, the choke will not be hooked up as of right now. Now this go-kart came with an electric start. I believe it was a 6.5 horse or a 10 horse Tecumseh. Well, the problem with this throttle is it's not long enough. The way I wanted to hook this throttle up was take it around back of the motor and put it in that bracket right there, and then the cable would actually run up to that piece right there. And as you can see, it has a little eye in it that you would loosen this up, slide the cable in, tighten that down, that would hold the cable, and then the piece right there holds the sleeving of the cable. Well, the cable is not long enough, as you can see, to get up there without pushing on a bunch of junk. So that means I'm gonna have to measure this and get one, you know, foot or so longer, just so I got extra room. Now with this choke, I'm definitely going to try to put an electric start on this, or just like I said before, buy the 13 horse, because I got an awesome frame to put this little motor on to make a little asphalt go-kart. Not quite sure yet, but all I do know is I got to take the axle off, loosen all those set rings, lock rings, whatever you want to call them, so I can get that sprocket where it needs to be. I always line it up by eye. As you can see right there, it's pretty well lined up. But so I guess it's a run to the parts store, and then I'll pull the camera out when I get back. Okay, so we have a few problems with this go-kart. Now the bearings was missing out of the wheels on these, where the wheels are out on these shafts. Well, someone's obviously replaced it. As you can see, their welds are pretty rough looking. So I had taken the wheels off and took them into the parts store to see if they had any flange bushings, which if you don't know, a flange bushing is like these bronze ones right here. You basically take a socket, and there's the socket I was trying to use, and hammer them down in there, and that lip right there, this is 4 of them on a boat. I just kept them like this when I bought them, but that lip right there will keep it from going, you know, completely down in the shaft. Well, the problem is that those are 7/8, and that's pretty much what this wheel measures out to in the middle. There's no way I'm getting those things hammered down in there. Now, I bought these 4-inch long 3/4 bolts to re-weld on the front of that go-kart, but I just can't get those flange bushings down inside these wheels. Now, I have a couple different options. I can either go get like a standard Murray wheel, or, you know, John Deere wheel that's on a regular rider mower. That's what I've used before, and the parts store actually carries the steel bushings to hammer right down in there, and then I could cut those bolts off and weld the new ones on. But the only problem is I looked in my Horde out back, which we'll walk around there right now. Okay, so here's the start of my Horde, and as you can see, I have that wheel, which that's just a little bit too small that I was wanting to use. But here's the rest of my go-karts right here. Well, this is the wheel I was hoping I had 2 of, and I only have 1 of them. That's the wheel I used on the last go-kart I built, and it worked perfect. Like I said, the parts store had those bushings in stock, and that's the only ones they carry because it's the most common. Now, all the other wheels on my go-kart, like this one right here, this will get changed over to slicks eventually, because this is the asphalt go-kart I was telling you about earlier that I was thinking about putting that built 6.5 horse motor on, and that's going to be the same type deal. That one's just in real rough shape. It needs a lot of stuff touched up on it and a little bit more bracing. Now this one I need to get a motor plate. I believe, I really haven't even looked at it. Yeah, it's got a motor plate on it, but I don't know if that bigger engine will fit behind that seat. So I may get a new engine plate and make the back of this a little bit longer. And of course, I'm not going to use that solid brake. That is pretty horrible. It pushes right up against the tire. I'm going to change it over to a disc brake. But you know, it's a lot of money building these go-karts, more than you would think. A lot of people think they can just buy them from me for a couple $100 when I'm done with them, and just the brake and caliper alone is like 40 bucks, you know, and then you're looking at 120 for one of those 6.5 horse motors, and you end up having a lot of money into them. Now, what I'm going to try to do is try to find someone around here with a bunch of old spare lawnmowers. I know there's a lawnmower junkyard up in Maryville, but I really don't have time to run up there. I really want to get this go-kart done though. It's been sitting in my garage, and it drives me crazy having a project set around this long. And it's just been money. I don't want to spend money on the thing because like I said, you can end up spending hundreds of dollars on these go-karts if you build them right. And my goal is to eventually sell them. I want to basically restore these go-karts and make kind of a side business out of it by restoring them and putting my touch on the go-karts and building them with real high quality and then selling them. Problem is finding someone that'll pay that for them. So this side-by-side would sell for quite a bit, and the other one you've seen that's in my Horde, that's going to get a 4-wheeler motor of some type. I'm going to rebuild the whole rear end section, put 4-wheeler tires all the way around, kind of like Razor, what a Polaris Razor would have on it, wheels and tires, and it's going to be really expensive. But if it doesn't sell, it's going to be my daily driver. I'm going to make it fully street legal, and you'll see that whole build on this channel. But I think that's it for today. I'm really going to have to find some wheels. Don't really want to mess with taking that axle off today because it's not going to get me anywheres. You know, I can get that sprocket, those 2 flanges put on each side of the sprocket, but it's not really going to get me nowheres. I'm still going to be stuck on them front wheels. So I really need to find some new front rims to put on that go-kart. And once, like I said, we're going to put the whole go-kart together, let her ride it for a week or 2, fine tune it, and then we're going to completely tear it down and paint all the parts, because that engine plate, that engine spacer plate I made that the engine sets on still needs painted, as well as a bunch of other parts on it. And I don't know if she wants to keep it green, so I'm thinking about getting it sandblasted and painting it a completely different color, because it's like a camouflage type green, and it has camo seats, which we're going to recover those and then put a 3-spoke quick release steering wheel on it. So when I ride it, because the seat actually slides back and forth on it, so when I ride it, I can pull the steering wheel off to get in it a lot easier. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry this is kind of a boring video. It's just me tinkering in my garage. I rarely get these days anymore, especially with opening up this new business. It's getting really busy, and it's just going to keep on getting busier. So I'm trying to get this go-kart done before the business fully opens up. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to check out the other videos on Redbeard's Garage. Check us out on Facebook, and I'll catch you later, guys. I'm out.